Yeah.
That's that proper shit right there.
Yo, it's the beauty of Twitch. It's how everything like. That's what I like. Oh, we're live. What up, everybody? Hi, world. Welcome back to Prspctvs. This is your new favorite podcast. My name is Holden Stefan Roy. Typically, we would be co-hosted with Liddy Bro Flacko, but dude's like posting Facebook statuses like I'm in ATL this week, so he's out there doing his thing. On that note, I'm gonna run you through the intro. Joining me today is True End of the Week royalty with Mas Allah, representing the UK clan, and I've done a lot of interviews, but I've never talked to a single interview in the UK like this before. So it's a big moment for me stills. On that note, we like to start the show off running through the history of how the show came to be. Typically, Flacko would do this part, so I like to do my paraphrase version of the situation. So at one point, Liddy Bro Flacko was doing his volume 1 press, run. He was doing this stuff, and he got it mixed by the homeboy in Montreal, Merker Miyagi. He, as a typical New Yorker, he may as well be, as I found out, does not like to do things such as share the music of most of the people he mixes, because if you share one, you got to share them all. But he chose to share this song, one of the ones from the Liddy Bros project. So I caught that. I listened to it. I made a little album review on that. And then that caught Liddy Bro Flacko's attention. He left a little comment like, we should talk more, do a little interview. Then we did the interview, and the way he puts it is, bro, I gotta tell you, it's like therapy. It's not any of that typical rapper shit like all the other typical rapper interviews. And then he goes off a little bit on that. And I'm like, it's very flattering. And then, he kind of goes on to describe it such as that. His version takes more time, but, I like to do the more, abridged version of it. But that's kind of how we all came to be. And then we hit up end of the week. We started doing it week over week over week over week. This is episode 48 of Prspctvs. So that's where we at with it now, in just over a year. So it's a big process, and you make it now internationally in a whole new way by being here with us, representing a whole other continent on the show. So if you could, just to start this off, if you could let us know your name, where you're from, and where your parents are from.
So I'm Maslow. That's what everyone knows me as. It breaks down as the law of mind and spirit, because I believe you need both to make a proper decision. Yeah, but that's evolved over time. And my background, that's Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican boy raised in Britain. So, I got the yard in me.
That's dope. Honestly, I get mad excited at the accent. I'm like one of those people, the UK rap comes on and I'm like, yeah, boy, they could be saying fucking, yo, for real, man's not hot, it's a banger is all I'm saying. Like it's at that point.
You were talking of madness in that, so it just goes to show,
He was, I admit it. But we have a real opening question that we start with. It's a bit more of a story. The key point is that you up in the UK over there, in the Britain, on the other side.
They're in the rainy grey side, man.
And so, with that, just keep that in mind, everybody. And I'm going to go through it. It's a story. When it lands, to be able to take it away. And remember that, none of us are from where you're at. So just keep that in mind. So it all starts out with my girlfriend. And one time she's washing the dishes. And she's got her phone out. And she plays that Black Eyed Peas song. I got a feeling. Ooh. And she does her thing. She's vibing. She's dancing. I look at her. And I'm thinking to myself, when in the fuck did this song become chores music, right? Because if you think about this track, I don't know if in the UK, but I'm pretty sure it was around the world. But it was like 10 years ago, the middle of the night banger. Everybody's dancing. Everybody loves this song. Run it up 10 years. And now it's a song we put on when we go jogging or wash dishes or do some boring crap because we want our brains to go back to the super fun times of when we once listened to that song in its glory. And I thought about it was crazy because the song doesn't change. It's a song. They don't evolve. They're just the songs. But we, as people on our musical journeys, change so much over the course of time that the relationship goes. And that got me thinking about us as artists. And honestly, the way the story of artists get told and the way the interviews have it, it always starts at the same adolescent point. I discovered hip hop when I was 12 and I first heard this guy, or I started writing rhymes when I was 9 and I started going, but that's not really the beginning, right? There's a good chance when you popped out the hospital, wherever you was at in the Britain, and there was a song playing in the room, and your little baby self was already absorbing some music into your soul from like day one. And I know that's a big thing because, like, when I was like young, like 5, I could remember being up in Montreal in the apartment. My dad's got gray boxes all over the fucking amp, the preamp, the tape deck, the radio, all that stuff with the wires going to speakers everywhere. And you'd be busting like Led Zeppelin tapes and shit in the daytime. And at nighttime, it was the club mixes straight from the clubs of Montreal. But my mom's was a whole other vibe, right? We talking like musicals and love songs and discos and then throwing some Disney bops of the 90s and some shit. And you got this whole world of music I was forced to consume before I had any control over it. So, with that, Mr. Maslaw, I was hoping you could take us back to the youngest Maslaw you could remember being and tell us a little bit about what it sounded like to be you before you had control over anything. As young as you can go. And remember, none of us know shit all about the UK.
All right. For me personally, the adventure is different. Yeah, it starts off in the womb, and probably me listening to djembes, the cowbell, master drummers, and dancers from an African diaspora brought over to the UK. Yeah. So in retrospect, my family was one of the first African Caribbean dance groups in this country, one of the major ones. Yeah. So
What?
I am technically born on stage. Yeah. Through like my family brought Fela Kuti over. My family brought like legend Shabba Ranks. So my dynasty starts in music from conception. You know, my mum is a dancer and my dad is a drummer.
So like your whole life is kind of then on tour or around, are you guys kind of like stationary?
To a certain age, until grandma said, "No, I must go school. Stop taking him everywhere. He's not a gypsy." So, you know.
So do you have memories of that? Like being this young kid going around, do you remember where
Yeah,
you went or
I
anything?
do. I do. Like, all right, there's a festival over here called Glastonbury, and
Okay.
my family would open and close Glastonbury for 10 years. It's like one of the biggest festivals. Yeah.
Is that the
Uh,
one with Jay-Z and Oasis?
exactly. That one. Yeah. So my family used to open and close that for 10 years. So I remember being probably around 6, running around the festival. The festival's humongous, yeah? And I'm running around the festival and I have a sign on my back that says, "If lost, please return to Felma's kitchen." Yeah? Because in the 10 years that my grandma and the family was doing it, my grandma managed to set up a tent to sell food, which turned into like one of them army style barrack tents. Then the kids played the sound system and everything like that. So yeah, I'm really immersed and born into this culture of, I don't know, music, but from a young age and from a very different perspective.
Mm.
Very different.
But that's why we do a show called Perspectives. Because we
Mm-hmm.
want to hear all about the different perspectives, because that's what it is. So like, not only are you from the UK, but you come from like this like festival family of musicians and shit, where you're literally just from. So like when you're young, then is it like you want to be in music, or are you just kind of there?
I think music is in the bloodstream. It's not something you can kind of, uh, at the time, it's not something I would shadow away from, because
Mm,
it was everybody in my environment was some musician or a legend. Not even like little people, like legends over here. Half of my mum's friends are legends, you know? I see
right.
sometimes we'll have a little conversation and she might have this hat, you know, this jeans hat. I used to remember, I used to love putting it on. I love this hat, mum. Like jean, little rag top hat. She's like, yeah, Hugh Masekela gave me that. And I'm like, wow, you say it like it's really nothing. But to me, I'm gassed out my head because Hugh Masekela is one of the best jazz musicians coming out of South Africa, you know? But to my mum at that level, it was just friends. It was just, and still to this day, she's so humble that it's just friends, you know? So
That's
I'm really
wild.
born in the seed of legends. and being around legends on my upbringing.
Yeah, you hear it in the dignity in the way you describe it, man. I feel like, I'm a huge believer of environment having influence, right? And the fact that you're just surrounded by that since time makes no. It's obvious that you went on to just keep pushing until this day. Like that's half the reason we do this show is to figure out how do people run that forever. And then yeah, starting off like that. We got a question here. Was what kind of drummer was your father? Was it steel drums or like
No,
normal
my dad's
drums?
a percussionist, so he plays all
Mm.
the hand drums, going from
Oh, that's cool.
congos, congo, bongo, djembes, dalbuka. The range is phenomenal. It's like strains of weed. There's a drum, for every landscape in the world. You know,
That's
I went
amazing.
to I went to Kampala, and the only thing that's ever blown my mind drum wise is in Kampala. This Rasta let me play his drum, and the drum was made out of the skin of a python and sounded completely different. I was like, this is a whole new experience, you know?
That's what does it sound like? Like what does it compare to?
More tonal. It's more tonal because the skin's got more like rubber and taut to it. Instead of the slap you would get off a cowhind or a deer or antelope, you hear like a tonal sound. And where we was, it actually ringed over the marketplace of Kampala. So it's amazing. It was amazing. The sound was something different to experience, especially if you've always played normal drums or should I say cowhide drums all your life, you know?
I mean, just the idea of having to break drums into different categories blows my mind a little bit. I never thought about any of that before, but Maslow, that's a wild start to this. Like already, you're like, when I was in this country, I don't even know where you were, to be honest. Um, and they're like fucking rang out over the market. It's like a Disney movie, bro.
But that was courtesy at end of the week. I ended up in Uganda for the EOW
Mm.
final out there. And that experience was one of the most magical experiences of the whole adventure. I take very different things away from that experience, you know. That was one of them though. Just that
Sweet.
drum and a vulture in the sky just before we was about to in the tree, sorry, just before we was about to go into like the final event. I just thought it was trippy that there was a vulture sitting there watching, you know. I'm from the UK. The biggest birds we got here are seagulls. So when you're talking about vultures and marabous, you're losing my mind. You're losing my mind.
That's amazing. Okay, we're gonna definitely get to that in more detail. So you're going through your childhood and up until school, you're cruising the world. And then when you get into school, do you have at this point like ambitions to make music, or are you involved in music in some way, or is it just kind of like around you so you do it? Like, I mean, I
All
know
right.
it's
As
a vague
kids,
question, but I guess there's intention there.
as kids, we had like a thing called it's like the Apollo Club. Yeah, you know, with the Sandman. Yeah,
Mm.
we had that kind of environment growing up where we had the family. You know, we all got to do our show and trick or show and tell, make it good because otherwise the aunties coming to bruck you up. That kind of vibe, yeah. And I like confession between 6 to I say 10. I was Michael Jackson. I was Michael. That dance move down to a T, the jacket. I would not even allow people to call my name. I would say, no, you gotta call me Michael. I was one of those kind of guys, yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
it broke out. Obviously, that gives me different angles to come from because I'm imitating the king of pop. Loved everything else, but my roots primarily was in ragga.
Right.
Dancehall and reggae is how I was raised. You know, I was Michael Jackson on dancehall. If you was to think about that, you know,
Actually, that
that was
sounds
the
kind of lit
balance.
though. It does
That's what I
sound
was
lit.
saying. That was the balance at the time. So
So
I'm
you're
very
basically
much
running
raised.
that. And then so you said till about 10, and then what happens about 10 that makes you snap out of the Michael Jackson phase?
I don't know, maybe just growing up, you know, the changes, the dynamics of school and so forth. And then
Mm.
maybe my influence into ragga a lot more because I went out there. I think it changed in 94. 94. I think Atlanta had the Olympics in 96, if I'm right. Yeah. And 2 years before that, I went to Jamaica. So I was 12, 94. And that year changed my life because I was running around with Little Hero and Tonto Metro, who was like legends at the time for me because they was like stage artists. So I was really gassed, really young. And came back, I thought I was a real MC, like ragga MC,
So
you know?
were you performing with them?
No, I was just running around with them. I was just in that environment, but that environment made me come back to England like, nah, I'm a ragga artist.
Hold on.
Now,
Tell us a bit more about that. So you're 12 years old in 94 in Jamaica in a scene. You can't just like you gotta give us a
all
little
right,
bit more about
so
that. So like
my obviously that's the family house. So me and
right.
the mum's gone over to see the grandma and so forth. And we're out there. I believe it's 94. And we're out there and we're living it up. We're having fun. But the neighbor next door was hanging around with these two, and I was hanging around with the neighbors. So, we all end up hanging around and so forth. But in the process of that, I went to like Sunfest, which is like one of the big like stage shows out there where you would like literally sleep on the beach and wake up to the main artist at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And the dance don't done until the next following evening. It's like 3 days just on the beach. Crazy shit, yeah. Amazing. But I was immersed. I know from that, I'm a bashment youth now. No matter what I go and I'm writing them kind of bars now. I want bashment bars. I want that energy. So I ran with
I'm
that
not even
energy.
gonna lie. I don't know what bashment bars means. I know there's a DJ in Montreal. His name is Bashment Booth, but I never thought to question what bashment
Well,
is.
maybe I'm saying it wrong. Dancehall lyrics. Yeah,
Okay.
if you was to ask me what my flavor was at the time, I'm a dancehall MC. I
I'm
was
not thinking
like
you're
your
saying it
Beanie Man.
wrong. I'm on the other side of the
Well,
pond, right? So I go.
in respect to Beanie Man, I'm gonna say I said it wrong because bashment is not a thing. It's a way you dress and it's a form of something, but the actual music is dancehall and reggae. So I wanted
Okay.
to be a dancehall artist, and like show that dancehall style of things because I'm a yardie youth and we, as a little island, it's a very influential island. I've
Right.
always said that, especially if you're coming from this side of the pond, Jamaicans in England, our effect over here is like humongous. To how people talk now on the roads comes from the old yard ways. So
Mm.
I know like Toronto has a big yard influence,
Yeah,
There's
Montreal too.
places.
Like
Yeah, this is
I
it.
went to when I went to high school, it was like I wouldn't say it was just Jamaican, but it was super Caribbean influence. Like a lot of the English side of the black community is Caribbean. So a
Yeah,
huge amount of Jamaican influence here. A lot of Jamaican restaurants all over. Like, in fact, like I can follow a lot of the UK slang because there's so many
Jamaican.
similarities.
Yeah.
And then there's differences. Like we don't say ends up here, but like most of that shit I can follow because it's like okay, I know Jamaican shit, and I fucks with dancehall and all that because like honestly, I just went to a high school that exposed me to a lot more than everyone else. But it's cool.
Yeah. So that's where my essence comes from. It comes from that. It comes from the whole right. We gotta
So
get this
bashment then
energy.
is like the cultural, like the fashions, the outside the music, and the music would then just be
Yeah.
the
If you
music
was
of
feeling fly,
bashment is dance hall.
exactly.
Understood.
Exactly.
That's a cool lesson to learn stills. Um so yeah, so you come back to the UK then with this whole new energy because one festival and a whole bunch of running around there, exposure to it influenced you heavy. That's a good thing to
Yeah.
learn.
But well, I'm already a cedar dancer. Yeah. I love all the artists already. But there's an energy that you see live that cannot be imitated in any other style that I've seen apart from grime. Yeah. But we'll get back to that. But that is the only element that has a dancehall style vibe where people don't even do 3 minutes of a song. Are you crazy? That is way too much. If you got past 8 bars, you're lucky. Yeah, that's dancehall fashion. at the time. I just had to do a hot 4 bars. I say, weird, pull up, and that is it. And I can do that through, like, if you watch Beanie and Bounty do their thing, they could do that with 50 songs. 50 songs over 5 rhythms, you know? That energy is completely different.
I never thought about it at all, but the way you're describing it has me both curious and now I'm gonna watch for it. I'm like, hold on, there's a style of music you can just do 4 bars and that's it?
All right, so check it. If you actually come to a grime concert, yeah, and the boys are doing grime, they will say 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bar, got it. I ain't trying to hear that shit. And that is it. That could be a whole forward. They don't need all the other energies no more, because that energy spoke way more in that forward. Yeah. And that comes from a dancehall tradition.
So do they just repeat that or they just say it and that's it?
No, you could go and there's a whole tune. You know, there's actually a song of it that has, 2/16s and a hook and everything. But if you actually go to a dancehall show and they're going wild and they're going off, you'd be lucky to get more than 8 bars. I'll tell you that. Yeah, on a song, lucky to get more than 8 bars. And that energy is something different.
And this is
Because
because the crowd is just too hype, so you can't even get through it, or
no, because you don't need it. There's an energy. There's a like continuous energy. I think that's the best way I can put it. It's an energy that doesn't stop.
because I
Yeah.
watched my homeboy do a whole DJ set in the fashion you're describing, dude. I was
Mhm.
hosting a stream. He came through, and absolutely like 45 seconds of a track, clipped it, moved on. Hyped this
Yeah,
shit up.
that's it.
And I was bamboozled, good sir. I did not understand what the fuck was happening in my face. I had never
Because
encountered a
that
thing
is the
like that.
energy. The energy is to keep it so continuous, it doesn't stop. Yeah. And the way you do that is by, you have to really be in that environment to fully absorb it,
Right.
but it really does work. If you're sitting there in your house and just chilling out, trying to hear a track, it might bug you out. Yeah.
Right.
But if you're in a dancer and that vibe is going on, the big song comes on, you play 4 bars, the fire goes off, fire everywhere, firecrackers, all types of sound effects. It blows your mind. Absolutely blows your mind. It's a complete different experience. So to grow up like that in sound boy culture, to me, gives the stage show something different instantly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because like we was taught to dress up. So if you watch Ninja Man versus Merciless way back in the day, Ninja Man came out with a ninja suit. Yeah, this is like Sound Clash. So Ninja Man come out with a ninja suit ready to kill. And halfway through the set, Merciless was like, all right, may I bring you a funeral tune now? And got like 6 men to walk out with a coffin, swinging and dancing this coffin with Ninja Man down the side, But when we went to stage perform, we perform. So anytime you see Yardies doing their thing, it's a general performance thing first. We really love the performance. That's why Buster's one of the illest MCs to me, because no one can't perform like him. That instant, vigorous energy never stops. It's crazy. It's Jamaican. Unadulterated.
That is super helpful. That's why we do this show, because I wouldn't have known any of that. Nobody watching this from my side would have probably understood. I'm sure a bunch of people would be like, yo, what the fuck is happening here? And nobody ever explains it, right? Because how are you supposed to know? It's not easy to Google. Why does the Jamaican DJ stop the song so frequently?
Yeah, that is not Googleable.
So I appreciate that. So you come back in and now you're making your own stuff. You're participating in this in your neighborhood back in the UK.
I'm having
So
sound clashes in school and all of them things there.
and this is
Trying to
in
be,
the late 90s or the mid to late 90s.
yeah. So
And
this is like my last days of school. So we're saying 95 to 98. Yeah,
what part
15
of
to
the
18.
What part of the UK are you in?
I'm in London, so I'm in the capital,
All right.
which plays a big part too, because like it's like America. Every part you go to has a different flavor or vibe, you know. So I am born in London, but raised by way of Bristol and London. And Bristol has like a different kind of culture for jungle music. You know,
Okay.
we was very big in the jungle thing, the drum and bass and that side, which changes a whole lot to what you lot hear over there. Yeah, because we mongrelize music more than you could ever imagine. Like literally mongrelize music. We have so much influences and spin-offs. Lovers Rock, that's a UK invention. You know, grime, speed garage. We got loads of sounds that we really was raised on.
Right.
And if you liked it or not, you could be a hip hop fan, but you loved house and garage music because it made you feel amazing. You know, you was in the dances doing the gun figure, oh, shut up, and vibing out. This was a thing. So when you're growing up, especially as an 80s, me being raised in the 80s, from the 80s to 2000, the influences are amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
So you're doing the lunch table thing. You banging it up there. You got it's basically the same shit that was happening in the '90s in America, but your version of it.
Yeah, straight up. We're all outside in the field doing the barring thing until 97. No, yeah, 97. 96, 97, I changed because I didn't feel like dancehall gave me enough expression. And I
Mm.
started getting very much into the Mob Deeps and the Nas's and so forth and taking in more of that. But I was very much more on the side of a Black Star. I like the whole conscious energy more than anything. So the Black Star had me up. Over here, we had London Posse, which was like a real staple diet. But then we had our own legends coming through at the time, which we could have something to acknowledge to, you know? So it
So
changed.
actually, so in the '90s, right? How are you getting hip hop? Like in Canada, there's a law where you're forced to play 30% Canadian music, so all of us know the same Canadian legends because anytime a Canadian song gets buzz, everybody plays it.
Mhm.
So how do you like consume new hip hop? Like, is there a delay in it
England
getting
weren't
to
like
you?
that, you know. England was mad because we didn't really have it like that. Westwood weren't really banging English artists at the time because that
Right.
didn't make hot radio. What made hot radio was the international acts coming over. And, you know, we would have our tapes lined up. I know I did, cassette, and you tape them 45 minutes, Eminem special when he came over the one time on Westwood. And we get it from the radio. The radio did their job, but it wasn't very UK based. It
Right.
was primarily American hip hop that you got through it. And the UK, you would have to really be immersed in a scene to see it, or you wouldn't get it.
And were you immersed at that point?
At that point, I knew enough. I won't say immersed, but because I was like a person that used to acquire CDs and sell CDs, yeah, I used to have a lot of like, you know, uh, a lot of plugs to when it came to albums because I had a lot of the links for it. So in
Okay.
that kind of respect to things, I was musically in touch. But the UK scene, I won't say there was enough for you to really have a face of it, you know?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I kind of get it in the Montreal scene's kind of going through its version of that. So like maybe not as a country, but I kind of get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So like basically as you're going through high school, do you at some point you get into the more conscious hip hop and are you like recording songs at this point? Are you writing songs or is it more just like, you're just kind
This
of
is
freestyling?
this is when I actually started mixing up with the crew. This is when you start making your own little crews. So the first crew I had was like Liquid Gold, I swear it was. And it was a crew that I had in the school. And, you know, we would sit there and write bars together, but it was that cringy young age where you're just writing mad things in it, you know. It was that until I went to my cousin's, and my cousin, it started with Music 2000, I believe. Yeah, maybe before that. No, we had a Cubase, a groove box. Yeah, one of the old school groove boxes. And we started making beats on that, and we was like, this is epic. We can make beats, yeah.
So a groove box is a sample machine, or
Yeah, one of them old school sample machines. Like, I've never been a techie, but we went through a lot of technology at the time. Yeah, that just from that little groove box. It started with the groove box, and we was making stuff and writing, and it would be about four of us, five of us writing in this house. This house turned into what would later then be my group called the Kings. Yeah, Kings of the Cosmos. It's like the best album that never came out. One of these kind of things. Yeah. It was, as producers and so forth, we made amazing shit. Like really just amazing quality music that never went nowhere because we never did the final part, you know, the push. Yeah, as much as we tried, it just never came together over like 10 years, you know, and it's a shame. We made a mixtape out of it. We made like individual projects, but never that collective king, even though it's recorded. It's recorded, it's out there on SoundCloud, but we never actually pushed it.
so you guys made it, but never did anything with it. So it's like it could have been, but
It's the monster that could have been. Let's say it as that, you know. One day I'll
you
just
said that's over
unfold.
10 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a
In 10
wild
years.
period.
It's a very
And
long time.
and so that's kind of like your focus is being in this group over, I guess, the beginning of your career.
Yeah. I was very loyal to it. And like loyal to a fault, you know. At the time it was Kings or nothing. And maybe to my detriment, because I've always been a bit of a wolf kind of brother. So if there's an open mic or whatever, I run one up and I go there by myself and destroy a mic, you know. Used to love waiting for that open mic queue. I'll be itching. I got something for them. Go and just shell it. And every time I shell it, they're like, who's this guy? And I'm like, yeah. And I remember at the time I was in a school in North London doing sixth form stuff. And there's a guy called Skinny Man who's a legend over here, like proper legend. And word got about because I was just destroying kids in the school. Like I was having fun. You know, I freestyle very well from very young. So I used to just destroy people with freestyles. Word got about, and there was a few people that was always like, come see me, man, you could be part of this. But my loyalty was to a fault, you know. I was just like, nah, I'm a king for life. Which, if in hindsight, I would never do again. You know, honest, I would never do again. I appreciate in holding the validity of myself to myself, if you
I
know what I
mean,
mean.
I get it. I mean, if I could go back 10 years and I could not say certain things or rechange certain relationships that I maybe didn't play right, I would. There are plenty of moments like that in the past that I would do differently. So it makes
No,
sense.
I wouldn't change nothing because everything they give me was a foundation to build on, and it
Mm.
was really good. You know, there
But
was.
but if given a choice sometimes here and there, maybe you would make a different choice.
Man, we would make a lot of different choices. It would be a different life then. You know, it's the choices and the consequences that make you what you are now. So I'm
That's
happy with the
true.
journey.
And I think about that kind of shit a lot. I love sci-fi and whatnot. So like that kind of mind puzzle, I think about like what would you do if you could go back with the knowledge you have now and all that kind of crap. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of grateful that I like my 30s. So I'm like happy with where I'm at because it would probably feel different if I didn't. And then that's another part of it too. Like if you're kind of happy with where your life ended up, that's gonna play heavy into it. But so you basically throughout the 90s and I guess early 2000s in this group? Are you guys like performing and like doing any kind of touring? And
Yeah,
also, what's the open mic scene, right? Like, because keep in mind, we're talking about the 90s in London's r- open mic scene. Like, I don't know anybody that's ever
right.
talked to me about
especially
that.
especially when you're talking like 2000s, yeah. Because if you was to think of it, they say in retrospect we're always 10 years behind America. Yeah, our glory years. So when we got into hip hop like that, we was kind of 10 years behind. You know, when we're dropping Fubu, they're on to something else. You get me? Like I had a lineup of Fubu and Kalakani, but then it changes eras, and then the Iceberg and the Moschino change things, and you know the looks keep changing along with the time. And 10 years later, we catch up. This is the life at the time. At the time, and I love saying that because shit has changed completely now. You know,
Yep. Somehow
and
Drake's bringing UK stars and now everybody making UK drill knockoffs.
listen, because you gotta understand, we're at our shine now. Yeah, there was a point when America had a shine, and that shine was flawless. I call that glory. 90s to 2010, that shit was flawless. Yeah. Then after that, it kind of just got a bit saturated with so many artists doing so much of the same kind of formula. Yeah. But England at this present moment, if you speak to the average kid, doesn't listen to American music. That wasn't a thing back in my day. You know, we even tried to rap kind of American sounding to make sure it was right. Yeah, but
Yeah,
now
that's a
the man is
big
not. They're not
statement.
trying it. They're not trying it no more. It's real. It's so real. That's why these
Nah, I'm
American.
telling you, the guy who's gonna edit this video,
Mm-hmm,
my man's Chris Chrome. He is obsessed with the UK scene right now. And I mean like you could probably find him some mediocre shit and he'd still
mm-hmm,
like it more than American music just because of the style and the overall energy it brings in. And every time I've ever reviewed a UK shit, not to say shit, but like a UK project, I
mm-hmm,
fucked with it. Like I did the Dizzy Rascals first one just to like from that era, and I've also
mm-hmm.
done like newer stuff, and it's like no, there's a whole it's different. It's all more
And like, you see
repetition,
the thing. That's
and
like even
I don't
that.
understand it all, but it's not American, and I kind
But
of
you see,
fucks with
like
that.
even that. You see when people say Dizzy Rascal, yeah,
Yeah,
they refer to Dizzy Rascal as UK hip hop. Yeah, that's not. Dizzy Rascal has nothing to do with hip hop. He's a grime MC. Yeah, that dude is 100% grime. Yeah, from the days when even if you wanted to call it, it was Eskimo. Before that, there's a whole sound. Yeah, but that's
so it's
not hip
like
hop.
I hear what you're saying, and I know what you're saying is like,
Mhm.
but yo, it's like my brain has a lot of trouble processing that. Like I know because like they're so like similar, but I know that they're not. But like
All right, listen, conventional hip hop. When you're talking boom bap hip hop, yeah, that Dizzy Rascal does not fall in that category. Yeah, that our legends over there are Black Twang, Skinny Man, London Posse, MCD. These are like legends that I can tell you. If you go and research them, you will hear hip hop bars, style, pattern. Whereas
right.
Dizzy comes from grime, Skepta, grime, gigs, that new kind of
So
UK
like
drill
I,
rap.
I so like here's the thing. Like I'm not trying to argue with you from a point of like arguing with you. It's more like I've always because Linkin Park and new metal are like the shit when I'm 12. All right, so my entire perception on music is like genre lines are kind of blurry already because everything's fucking changing and then everything's a remix and then so it's already kind of blurry to me. And then we get to this point where when I hear it, it sounds like I don't want to call it a subgenre, but in the vein of like a cousin of hip hop, like they mad like a higher energy, like it's like when because when I review it as a reviewer, it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're not like that different. Like I
All
hear what
right,
you're saying.
I'll tell you what's the difference. I'll tell you the simple differences. Yeah, one simple difference is hip hop usually spanned between 80 to like 96, maybe 105. Yeah, you're
Right.
lucky, fast. Yeah, House and G goes from 120 to 130. Yeah? Grime is built on 130. Grime has more influence than with house than it does with hip hop.
So is it because of the BPMs? Like, cause
No,
I'm
it's the style. So it before, if you went to a house and G party, the MC's in the place like this, telling you to come move up, Chris, 22 to the lemon and bright. Yeah. Then that energy got darkened. Yeah. We're not gonna make it so dancey and girl skanky like this now. We're gonna make it more for the youth, them and the gunman energy. So we darkened that energy a bit. And then you got the grime. Yeah. So grime to me is more a subsidiary of house and garage than it is directly hip hop. That's what we turned it into because we darkened the sound. But it works on
So in a
130
sense,
beats.
it's kind of like how trap is not like really hip hop. It's kind of a different thing, or like how drill is kind of
Yeah.
different. So it's like that kind of like relationship more than it all being like the same style. I think I get what you're saying, but like for me, try because I did the review, I got the comments, I got the people being like, "Bro, you don't know anything," and I'm like, "Nah, I don't know anything." So then I just always say that at the beginning now, but it's super hard to wrap my head around it. Like I hear what you're saying, and I've heard it before, and I understand it all from like a chart. Like if I'm looking at it in my head from like a chart of history but when I hear the shit, I mean, listen, like I like high energy music. So like for me, like, hip hop could be like 160. That's cool. But that's like how I see it. But like maybe I just take a broader view of it, Like when I use the term, it's a lot broader than like the more traditional because I don't go to New York first. I know we're on the end of the week. It's not my first thought. It's not New York boom bap. It's really not. So it's like it's interesting to hear you break it down that way because it matters actually, and I don't think a lot of us.
I tell you, my little thing lately is I've been checking into these things, yeah, about these subgenres. And Raw Digger was on the show the other day talking about um they opened up the bracket of R&B to allow so much other things into R&B. Yeah, and then what was traditionally known as R&B is now called neo soul. Yeah, it got a whole new tag. Beanie Man going on saying it's bashment, it's not sorry, it's dancehall music, it's reggae. Yeah, and then people are taking it and putting subgenres on it, like reggaeton, and then these kind of things, which take away from the essence of what it was or what it
Mm,
originally is, and then you take away the power of what the music originally is. So when we're actually broadening these scopes, yes, it's easy for us to interpret what bracket to put it in, but at the same time, you take away something just by doing that.
mm.
Grime is a really big element by itself. It deserves its respect, whether it be a little cousin or anything.
And I'm
What
not.
grime has done, no, I'm not saying as an offense, but what
No,
grime
no.
has done as a subgenre is amazing. It's like taking punk music in the 80s, being unapologetic to it, all the kids just completely believing in this sound, and now it's the number one. Now you cannot get away from it. Everybody is doing grime. The resurgence of grime is back. It's being accepted as like the English football anthem music, It's crazy. That's full 360 to me. So like just into compartmentalize genres is very easy to do that, and then you take away the essence of what that music is. And that's kind of only in this age now, but a lot of what I'm reflecting into, you know?
Mm.
Like, for
I
instance,
really,
I love,
I really like that answer. I think it really like taps into the value of something that I don't think a lot of us do think about in terms of what happens when you redefine what the words mean, especially with generational gaps. Like one of the biggest things when I talk to young people is a lot of them don't consider themselves hip hop artists. Even if
exactly.
but that's the label you have to pick on Spotify. It's not like you have another option. It's just you
Well, you
pick
do
that.
now. You have experimental, you have electronic, you have There is so much genres that you can pocket yourself into, which in this age of algorithms
Okay.
probably works very well because it makes it easier to suggest what you like.
That's fair. I don't know enough about the other subgenres. I know that when I've looked at the list, the one that usually best applies is hip hop rap. So I picked that one because experimental, I picture like out there Björk music or some really out there shit. So maybe that's just my not understanding of the words. But that's another part of what you're saying, even in a sense, without putting the right respect on the words to understand what the genres are, we can't even necessarily leverage the tools of today. Or if we had a better understanding, the algorithms would be tighter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nifty idea, all things considered. And I do think grime is cool. I've listened to a fair bit of grime, and while in my head I've
Love it.
always just called hip hop because it is, but I love the energy. I like. I just think like punk is more fun than most rock because it's faster and more intense and more upbeat, and it just tears shit up more. That's why, and a
And
lot.
that's grime. That is grime.
So I
It's
fucks with
fast.
that heavy.
Just big in your face energy.
So basically, yeah, back to you though. So you're kind of going through this open mic scene throughout the emergence of hip hop, not grime, but hip hop kind of getting
Mm-hmm.
its kind of initial phases. And at this point, you're kind of doing you're on the more hip hop side, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So you're kind of there, and you guys are, when you're recording and whatnot, like, do you have easy access to studios? You're kind of doing it at home?
We made this at that time. You had to make that up. So it started with the groove box,
Right.
and then from the groove box was Music 2000. Big up PlayStation. That changed the whole game. Yeah.
Say a word. You're not even the first what we call PlayStation rappers to hear it. I've heard about.
Listen, when I mean upstairs somewhere in the magic box, yeah, I have cartridges from my PlayStation 2, which I have. They're about 8 megabytes. If you hear the bangers we used to make on this, and then you think about what would 8 megabyte do right now, yeah, megabytes. I got cartridges upstairs for days just with bangers on that. If I get a Music 2000, I can load it up with the sample still saved onto an 8 mega drive banger. Yeah,
Bro, there's got to be a way to do that without like. There's just got to be a way to
there's
get that
someone
on a
out there with the
computer.
Music 2000. There's someone out there, and we
Yeah,
just
I'm
plug
sure.
it in and
Yo,
go.
that's a
It's
wild
like
thought.
to me, it's like when Primo pulls out all the floppy disks. To a lot of kids, that's gonna be like, what's going on there? But that floppy disk changed the whole life for him. That is an absolute hit. That one there saves it. So that's my little memorabilia. And then eventually the computer came. Once the PC came, along with Cakewalk at the time, probably Cubase early days, then we're recording. We get the mic, Behringer sound system, like amps and preamps and all of these kind of things. Piece by piece, did it like most of the people would. All the man them get in, chip in. But like I said, I started in my cousins, but it evolved into something really big organically. And then we was like almost like a Wu type setup, 9 MCs up in the room, you know, ciphering for like 9 hours, doing shit
Mm.
like that. We used to cipher like crazy and then record it on the cassette tapes. So, the cassette only took 45. So you had 45 one way, then you had to stop, wait, turn it over, record the other half. I had 90 minutes. That was it off a cassette. So that is like my origin stories. Loads of ciphering onto cassettes. And then we started making tracks. And the tracks we made at the time, to us, is fire, isn't it? We put enough battery in our back to believe we're making the best thing ever. But there came the side where not everyone was up for performing.
Mm.
I think that's a good part, Not everybody was really into performing, whereas me, I lived on stage. So that's the first place I want to be. So it made me that more wolf character where I'm like, right, let me go see what open mics is going on because you like ain't doing nothing. I'll take this one track and I'll do that there. And you get the love, but never ever moved in the actual union until 2010. I didn't take it as serious as I should. Maybe that's the way to say it. But 2010, everything changed. And then that's when I started taking things seriously. I got involved into different atmospheres and realms too. And things worked a whole lot more progressively till I started seeing results, you
Right.
know?
That was super vague, but I took it like in 2010 something happened and you just started
In
hanging out with different
2010,
energies.
so basically, we recorded the album 2010. The King's album's done now, but there's been so much politics and everything else. You know, like again, never take nothing away from the brothers because we made something fantastic, but it got driven to an edge where there was a lot of arguing and all of these kind of things going on. And then a friend of mine came and said, "Yo, I've just started working in the studio. Let's make your album." And like had a very big belief in me. So I said, all right, let's do it. And I started rolling with this guy called Keenan. Big up Keenan all day, Keenan Bailey, Sunchild. And over the course of 2 years, we made something called Abstract Sun, initiated this idea of Abstract Sun. And this was like a production house. And we would start making production for people and, you know, really good. Set me off in a completely different direction because now I'm doing things in a serious way. I'm in a studio that is that dope, real dope studio, big SSL tables and all of this shit. I'm blown away, you know. I'm in that kind of environment, and I have access to do pretty much anything at any time. So from there is when things really changed because that's when it was like, right, okay, I have an album now, and this is more than just in this room now. This is in the actual studio in an office with a setup. So it changed the whole dynamics of how I was thinking at the time. It was like, okay, let's go. Let's do some serious music and, you know, put out product. And it
Right.
started from 2010.
So what happens after you put out the album then? Like how do you go about it differently then?
The album I put out organically, the first album, it was called I Need a Break. Great title from all the situation and everything. Yeah, but it was I Need a Break. And I put it out. I traveled around doing relatively what I do in an open mic setting until Snuff, DJ Snuff, put me on a lineup. He was the first person to put my name on a lineup. And I'll never forget it. It was a event called Speaker's Corner. Like if you don't, firstly, big up DJ Snuff, like maximum big up. Yeah, DJ Snuff is the original UK ambassador for EO Dub over here from 2006. Yeah, so he was doing amazing things. This guy was putting on this open mic night called Speaker's Corner. And Speaker's Corner had a revolutionary feel. I think that's the only way I can say it. No one in Speaker's Corner came around here talking no bling, none of this stuff. If you weren't talking freedom, revolution, and you was in the wrong place. So I found myself there a lot just because that's my energy at the time, you know? We were all sitting down, reading the conspiracy books, freedom fighters, let's go. Find myself lined up every week. Speaker's Corner, let's do it. Until one day he put me on the list, and he put me down as King Mass. And there was it was a a night with about 50 MCs. I'll never forget it. 50 MCs, all the MCs' names in there, but mine was in the middle, so I was gassed. And then when I came to do it, the show, he said, "Yeah, King Mass come to the stage," and I came up, and so did this next group, and because the group was called King's Mass, and I stood there like, "Nah, I feel like it's me," and the man is like, "Nah, it's us." Turned out to be me, smashed the place. And then after that, I put a different worth on myself. Seeing my name on that flyer made me say, okay, stop doing open mics now, Yusuf. Start doing stage shows. I want the stage show. The open mics are fantastic, but after you're 16, you're gone, And I have way more than a 16 to offer. I enjoy putting on a stage show. I want you to come on the travel from the beginning to the end. So that made me say, all right, this is when I take this a whole lot more serious now and just pitch for stage shows. So I started getting the stage shows like crazy. And then 2008, that's a pivotal year, is when I first entered End of the Week. But no, it might not be too late. It was the year that Jack Flash won. Yeah. Jack Flash won the world. Jack Flash is our UK champion. Yeah. But he won the world champion in New York. Oh, you get me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Went out there and did some serious levels. But that year showed me, oh shit, this is what I'm about right now. I want to do this. Yeah. Because it was the only platform where I was like, it's a freestyle competition. Because that's how I seen it at the time. And I was really sick at freestyle. So this is good for me. And I lost to Jack Flash, which made me take a seat, I was like, okay, I get it because he came prepared. Maybe I need preparation. So I stepped back. I went back into my music box. Yeah. I went back into my music box. But at the time, I started hosting events and got a very big name for hosting. So, like, we had a hip-hop festival over here called Boom Bap Festival. And you have pretty much like 100 hip-hop artists playing throughout 3 days, And I ended up main stage host for 4 years, doing loads of hosting in between. But then when you host a lot, you kind of can get lost as well. So people stop forgetting the artist and start remembering the host more than the artist. So now they're not booking you to do artistry things, they're booking you to be a host, So I had to pull away from that too, because I'm an artist, goddammit. I love doing this art thing.
No, yeah, I go through that with the interviewer thing, actually. I'm like, hold up. Y'all gotta remember something. I still make music. Like, it's like at a certain point, like, you realize there are people who will only ever see me as an interviewer, and I'm cool with that. And I don't really want to pull back from this because I really, really do fuck with this, but it's not lost on me what you're saying. Because if I was getting booked as a host and not an artist, I don't know. That would eat me a little bit more in my soul.
Yeah, because the little dynamics, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
I'm hosting shows and I'm like, what I'm hosting, if you knew what I do, I'm like crazy. Probably way better than half of the people I bring on stage.
Right.
But now I'm starting to feel like I'm feeling like, what's my man? Eminem's. I'm feeling like Proof. I'm getting that Proof energy, where I'm known for like the OG that brings people in, which I love. Do not get me wrong, I love that. I love being that person. But as an artist, I'm very good at what I do. So I never want that to actually be something I put in the background because I enjoy this medium, hosting so much.
Right. So if I understand correctly, you discover End of the Week in the late 2000s, whenever that guy won the New York Championship thing. And do you go to New York to like do it, or is it out in UK at this point?
Nah, we got a chapter popping off over here. At the time, it was Snuff was doing it,
And
and
when does that start?
Snuff started it in 2006.
Okay.
2006, he started it. I believe 2.8 is when I first entered. Enjoyed it, thought it was fantastic.
Okay.
And then I slept on it for quite a while. So I was doing all other stuff. And then 2013, I want to say it's 2013, the world final was in the UK that year. And I thought, you know what, I'm going for it. So I went for it and I lost to Stig of the Dump in the UK finals. Yeah, I'll never forget that because it was such a sick night and I lost by just a few points. And I felt deflated, but at the same time, the world final was in the UK that year. You know, so it didn't feel like I lost so much because there wasn't like the trip out, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Because
So
losing when there's the trip, like, I mean, I guess winning when you're in the host city is not going to be the same experience as winning with the trip.
exactly, you know. So I don't get me wrong, I was gutted to lose because ain't nobody want to lose, you know. But at the same time, the following year, it was set to be held in Uganda, and I was like, rah, I came pretty much second last year. I'm sure I could do it this year. Yeah. Like I literally had that bug. I can do this. So I entered and the first heat was in Adidas Street Fest, like which is like just a street festival type thing. And I was put against like a sick lineup of MCs, but this is Adidas Street Fest. Yeah. So when I've come out, I'm watching MCs go and realizing you have to censor yourself. Yeah. And not a lot of MCs know how to censor themselves
This
and
is
become
facts.
family friendly. But because I'm an MC, that is what I did. I just turned it into a party. Yeah. Literally just had absolute party fun. Ended up winning that. Amazing, yeah. Felt fantastic. Yeah. I felt fantastic winning that competition. Then I had a heat with a guy called Apex Zero, who is currently like my right hand man, all things end of the week England, and a guy called what's his name, Marv Radio. Marv Radio is the most fantastic human beatbox machine that does sound healing and all of these kind of things. So I go through this really intimidating heat with them two. One is like a super poet, and the other one is a beatbox machine, but both can rap incredibly well. I managed to win that. Fantastic. On to the final. The final is me, Consensus, who's like the most technical human I know rapping. He raps about like the Hadron Collider. I can't even say the stuff in Switzerland. Hadron Collider? Is that what it is? Yeah. He raps about that. I get sponsored by them to do it. He's that kind of technical rapper. And then the other one was like this MC champion, jazz blowing, saxophonist, like amazing human being, Soweto Kinch. So I'm stuck in this final, but my mind's saying, I need to go Uganda. That's the only thing I thought about that whole competition. I need to go to Uganda. And I ended up going there, delivering. And when they told me I was going to Uganda, I lost my mind. I lost my shit. I won't lie. Yeah, that was proper happy fan moment for me because the achievement, more than anything, to get to go to Africa alone was fantastic. Just the thought of that for me. I'm going to Africa. Everybody talks about it, you know? So I lost my mind. And in hindsight, I won the year that I really wanted to win because I wanted to go to Africa. Yeah, and there's something in that because I believe a lot of the time the winner of end of the week it was written. You know, like when Cynical won end of the week, it was written. That guy came out there at the time when I think the baby was just about to come. He had never left Montreal before in his life. Yeah, all of these things. You come down to Switzerland and you bury the whole 5 rounds freestyling. Yeah, I'll never forget it because I was
Yeah, but
blown away.
he's incredibly. He's got an energy that's big. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like he came through a little park thing I did last year, and like yo, like he's one of those guys where you feel like you have to step up after hearing him rap because you realize that this guy is rapping at a level that you can be at, but you are maybe not that in that moment, and you need to step
Mhm.
your shit up because he does it. When they say effortless, that is effortless. Not a lot of
Exactly.
people are that effortless.
And he made it look like that when we got there. But again, he won and it felt like it was written. So
Mm.
fast forward to when I'm in Uganda now, I'm out there, I'm loving it. The experience is like something you couldn't imagine because they kept it very ram-packed, the itinerary, you know? You woke up, you went to the National Theatre, you rehearsed with the locals, then you went to the studio, you went to that TV station. It was really much like that out there, and I
Hmm.
had to big them up for it because I didn't know what to expect. But they put in work, hella work, and in it you get to see everything. You know, we're about everywhere, just dotting, dotting, dotting. The experience was amazing, but the little things blow your mind. Like for me, was the birds. The birds blew my mind. Why is the bird so big? That's the first thought that comes to mind, you know? You look up, there's a bird in the sky, it's blasted huge. It makes this noise like it's laughing. And then just randomly shits on people. Yeah. It's called the Laughing Marabou. I'll never forget it. And I thought that was amazing. So to win that year felt more like it did more for my soul that year because that year made me feel like, okay, I'm never gonna experience anything like this again. This is a culture shock. And that is like when I go away, that's what I want most. You know, I love Montreal, but Montreal is not far off from London. It's pretty much the same vibe. You know, like trust me, when you come out here and you're like, it's the same thing. You know,
I mean, I've seen your TV. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's the same
yeah.
thing. There's hardly much differences in the
No,
Montreal
but I
to
hear what you're
London.
saying because I got to go to Israel and Pakistan in the span of
Mhm.
8 months. I went to Israel and Pakistan, and so like, yeah, no, that's culture shock. I
Yeah,
feel like I do. You guys speak English. I'll understand you. I literally
exactly.
was in a moment where I had to get. I was in a call center and I was the trainer. At
Uh-huh.
one point, I had to get one of my agents to drive me to a restaurant to help me get food because, like, bro, I didn't know how to order anything and I couldn't do hotel food no more.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's culture shock, you know? Like, you
Yeah, for
look at the
sure.
menu, you're like, I don't know what any of this means.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. And that is what I got from Africa. Extreme culture shock, you know? So doing it that year, like I said, some things it was written. That year, Sledgley was the champion, coming by way of South Africa, who had to go through the craziest rigmarole just to be there, turns up 4 hours before the show and ends up winning just telling his story. Yeah. It was written. No one else could have took that moment from him
Mm.
because it was written in that moment. And that made me lose my heart. Like fully fall in love with this whole thing. You know, if it weren't for them moments there, that's defining moments to me. So it made my music even more fun to make because now I get to make it with my brothers out in Prague, you know? And I got Czech people on my music. It's crazy. To me, that is insane. You know, I got music with Ugandans. You know, high up in their thing is that whole mind frame to me wasn't even apparent at the time because at the time I'm a London boy and we've got our sound over here, but there's like a whole lost era of hip hop that one day me and Apex specifically wants to do this project, but it's called the Lost Generation of Hip Hop in the UK. And we had legends, man. Rhyme Asylum, um, Caxton Press, Shame the Devil, Morris Delta 7, like legends. But it's like they just disappeared in a certain radar. And
Mhm.
right after them comes the emergence of these Dizzy Rascals and so forth that take away completely from the sound that was UK hip hop at the time.
That's an interesting thing. I bet that's paralleled in a lot of places.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's the way things evolve, isn't it? Music is meant
Yeah.
to evolve.
Or just like what happens when the young people come through and just on like, yo, imagine. So I talked to like 20-year-olds and shit, and I had this crazy epiphany. Both me and the 20-year-olds started in 2012, only they were like super young. And like I've talked to like people who by the time they were 17 had recorded, mixed, and mastered 150 songs
By the
because
time
they
they were
can't
17,
because they
7-0.
no 17
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
because they just have it all. Like they just grew up with it. Like they could just do it. They just had the shitty webcam with the shitty microphone, and so they just made song after song, and they all had like whatever version of whatever because it's the 2010s already, and they all
Mm-hmm.
grew up with YouTube. So their first instinct is to go to YouTube, and it's like that changed a lot. These people, like a lot of the older heads, will like judge some of the younger people, but like wildly, these young people were like listening to Tupac in 2012 and just made choices. They're like,
Uh,
I don't know if I want, but they all listen to it. Everybody I've talked to that's young has listened to pretty much everything I've ever listened to when I was young. They just ended up
but
liking Lil Wayne more, and they just like
I
Drake
think
more.
that's just that. That's down to like age of information, isn't it? You know, like in our days, information weren't processed like that, or even as feasible. You know, the
It
fact
blows
that
my mind.
everyone has a studio in their room that used to be a thing. You know, it used to be a thing, and there was a guy that had a job, and you went to the studio and he did his job, and his job
Nah,
got
like, it's wild.
killed.
It's even to the point where some of the studios are like, bro, this email thing with COVID? Are you kidding me? None of y'all are coming over again. And then
Yeah,
like there
this
are
is it.
people who like shut down and they're like, yeah, just do the digital transfer shit. And it works. Like if you have a proper sound at home, you can just email your files to whatever engineer, and that's what the kids are about to grow up in. Imagine that the post Imagine growing up in a world like these kids don't have to perform live because they've been rapping for 2 years in like lockdown. So there's a bunch of Montreal rappers where were they gonna perform? But they've been releasing music for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Performing live isn't even necessarily a focus to a lot of these new artists because, and it's
Well, it
like,
is now, but it's now a IG live or,
yeah,
or a virtual show. You know, because this is the age we're going into, and I don't expect no different. This is called Ready Player One, and if you weren't ready, then you're about to get ready. You get me? But this is
ah,
what it is. You
I
know,
fucking
I
as,
believe in it.
as somebody literally told me that on the Roblox game that the
Uh-huh.
kids be on, there is record labels and they do like all out shit for like Roblox money. Like man's like won a thing for Roblox, and I googled it. It was like $40. Like I just want, but yo, like wildly, because they're teenagers and shit. They got time. Like what
And not
else are you
just
gonna
that,
do?
no, not just that. This is where the world is heading. This is the world is
Yeah,
heading.
no
You know,
facts. I mean,
like
we're doing it. We're doing it right now.
yeah, and do you know what? It's great and it isn't it? It's got its pluses and
Absolutely.
bonuses. Like obviously, as artists, you're kind of in the shit now. Yeah. Before, if you was a big artist, you was a big artist, and there's no other big artist. You was just like the big artist. If
me growing up, we had Top of the Pops, and whatever was top 10 was top 10. Yeah, that was fact. And if you was number one, you was number one. Now you're number. It's like boxing. You know, you could be a heavyweight champion, but there's guaranteed at least another 20 other heavyweight champions in all types of belts, divisions, and weights, and so forth like that. So it takes away from things now. You don't get. You have to, but at the same time, you can pick to a T what you want to hear, and I quite like that.
Personally, I'm super into this more in a selfish tip. Like, I don't like when I first rapped at end of the week, I was like, oh, say word. I don't know if I know how to rap New York. Like, I don't know how to do that. And I could see certain people being like, this ain't it. And I respect that because it's really like I get it. I really get where they're coming from. But as like I guess a weirdo in music who likes to kind of do out there shit, bro, it's the best. All the gatekeepers got knocked down. A lot of shit got fucking blown away.
Yeah,
I literally started just not mixing shit good. I wanted to see what would happen. What happens if you don't try? And so I'm doing it now. And you know what happened? I do whatever. I do a very bullshit mix job. Nobody gave a fuck. I mean, like, nobody gave a fuck. I mean, like, DJs and engineers gave a fuck. Nobody else gave a fuck. I'm like,
but half of the other consumers are listening to it off a phone now. I mean,
yeah.
you know, I grew up in a day where you took a lot of pride in your preamp, your amp. You had the full setup. It was like two. The speakers. Like for me, I grew up with the H&H on the speakers, so speakers were soundboy issue, and you know, you really had a love for the tweeters and what your bass did. Now you listen to that shit on your phone. So
and with Spotify.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so either which way, the quality of things is always going to drop. You know, that is a plus bonus. But one thing you said, which I find interesting, is you said, could I rap New York enough when it came to end of the week? Yeah.
That was just my thought. Like, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I feel you. But
there's
this is the one competition that showed
I wasn't even in the competition. It was the open mic. It was just the regular, just watching because I watched some people were like, and other people were giving me the New York face, and I'd never seen the New York face before.
Flacko said it well. He said he was raised on yellow rice, I believe it was. Yeah. And one day someone gave him white rice, and he was like, "This shit changed my whole perspective." Yeah, because what you're raised on ain't always what you like. You know, there is something you will find in it that comes through that is not from the typical mold and blows your mind. And that's what end of the week showed me. The minute I went to a world final, I was seeing 7 different languages rapping at once. I'm like, this is a whole new stratosphere. Because for me, I'm from London, and we don't really tap into much other language music. You know, we love French hip hop because French hip hop always made a solid stance in their statement.
Do y'all ever listen to Quebec hip hop, or is it just like France?
Not France.
Got some fucks with some Quebec, you know. We got some shit happening here.
The thing is, the algorithm ain't reached. That's how you gotta think of it.
Oh my god, the amount of anti-algorithm motherfuckers I know. I'll be like trying to like get everybody on board. Like, yo, let's work together, make a Montreal algorithm so people care. We got French, we got English, we got bilingual, we got. Honestly, my city's lit. Like we slept on, but algorithmically, it's what it is.
If I didn't know about coming out there and meeting urban monk, yeah, or urban logic, sorry.
No. You know Logics? Okay, yeah, Logics.
Man, listen, that story right there is magical. But yeah, meeting him, I wouldn't know that if I didn't immerse myself in the scene. I wouldn't know about Pres One, you know, things like these. I wouldn't know about these guys unless I knew. Excuse me, I wouldn't know that if it weren't for end of the week. First of all, yeah,
facts.
Because that brought me out there, and I got to experience it firsthand. You know, Brother Monkey took me in. He housed me for the whole weekend and something, showed me Montreal from a different perspective because you all know how Monkey is already.
Gonna be like out there. Like that's not the Montreal I know.
Again, yeah. But then I have the balance because I had man like Osti one. That's a balance to me, yeah. There's and I'm gonna know Billy. If it ain't for brother Billy, yeah, that's a whole nother perspective. Custard all day, yeah. Like that guy right there is a brother. You know what I mean? Like brother. So when you're little things like that, I would have never have got that experience if it weren't for this experience. And
Yeah.
if in that it allows me to know someone to tap into. You know, you only need one. You know,
Well, no,
literally.
that's the thing. I realized that at the end of the week. I'm like, hold up. I'm about to interview this Maslaw guy. Now what happens when I'm in London? I'm gonna have to hit up Maslaw, see what's up.
And that's what end of the week did for me. I went to Prague. Where's my end of the week family out here? Well looked after. Yeah. I went to Amsterdam just to make it even more random where there isn't a chapter. And I got hooked up with Raheem, who was one of the original guys to bring over End of the Week France. And he's out there judging cannabis. I'm like, wow, this is amazing, you know? Like, end of the week, baby. I'm flying the flag, you know what I mean? So, like, the network it built up was great. And if you have your own established network, it works well, you know? So, like, here I've done enough for people to know who I am. You know, I'm not a gigs. I'm not your Skepters. I'm not on that level at all. Yeah, because that man there is the new age of where we're meant to be. Yeah. I'm just the era before. I'm the lost generation of hip hop before these kids came through and did what we was meant to do. And that's how I see it.
So, I mean, that's an interesting way to put it. Because, I mean, I'm kind of meeting those people all over Montreal that put in that work beforehand and seeing where a lot of them are at or how many of them disappeared. Or, as an example, I just in day job land ended up working with a guy who's like a legend in Montreal. But like he will not even come on my show right now because it could like affect his cheddar in terms of what he does for a living now. And just the way that people's lives can like flayed out and things change and people evolve and then all of us are here now and like honestly this guy deserves way more shine than I might get over the next little bit, but it's just the way life worked out. I'm still here doing it and he's over there going to Amsterdam with per diems. And I'm like, well, you know, I would go to Amsterdam with per diems too pretty quick. I'm not gonna lie, that's actually not shit.
But it's
So
that is why, like for me, it propelled my thing a bit more. But the hosting made me a household name to a degree. That's what, if people was to say, a lot of like just normal spectators, if they was to know me, they would know me for hosting. Those that's been to a show will probably say that's the funniest show they've been to. Those that know me for my music generally are people that really like my music, and I appreciate that. You know, I've never tried to generate no numbers and all of these kind of things because I never put that energy in like I was meant to. But on an organic level, I've done enough to make me smile. I've seen enough countries. I've done enough stage shows. Don't get me wrong, there's always more. But, you know, like, it depends on the direction you want to take in things. And, like, being close to 40 now, there's no age on music, but, like, I had a show the other day, and it made me know I'm getting old, you know? Those tongue twisters I enjoyed doing before make my back look. So now I want to be more in the business side of things, the production side. You know?
So you're like, I guess that's a real thing. I've been literally working out to combat that. And I was never in shape, but I'm like 34 now, and I'm like, I have to go do live shows, and I'm in my 30s. That means I have to come super correct because I'm in my 30s. That's what people don't get sometimes about your 30s. You
Well,
cannot
I'll
be
tell you
whack in your
something.
30s like that.
This is something I've realized, yeah? And this is like my lesson on aging with music. A lot of people think presentation comes from all the energy you put in, yeah, or performance, sorry. But you can perform very easily with minimal movement, but they look big.
You know
Do
what
you know what I
though?
mean?
I do, because I was a lot bigger and I still performed. But I had this opportunity to perform at Just for Laughs in Montreal and do Eminem's Rap God for hip hop karaoke, and it was one of the worst 6 minutes of my life, all things considered, because as I'm doing my thing, I wanted to do things, but I'm trying to not wheeze as I'm busting through Rap God. I pulled it off, and my performance wasn't shit, but I will always see it as shit because if I had just taken my health more seriously before that moment, it could have been like next level. And that's something like it got to me. Like, so you're right, but I also think the scope of performing for like a lot of things is like even as an audience member, I kind of get bored when Mans just stands there in the mic and doesn't move for fucking 2 songs. Like, you know, like
Listen, I'm dead. I'm leaving. I'm buying my drink. I'm gone. I'm
so
that
like
kind of person. Unless you're a person that's a singer who
mm.
is introverted like that. But
You know,
like I
I'm with
said,
that. I'm okay with singers because the voice is gonna do all the lifting and make you all drawn in and shit. But
no,
like,
this is what I mean though. You could have someone that stands still for a whole track, yeah, but his movements are big and small. A perfect example is like I watched Toby Nugwe. You watch that guy?
yes,
And
mm,
he's the perfect example of that.
and he'll
Yeah,
just be like a,
that's it.
and like
Yeah. So the whole point is you don't have to do all of this. You
no,
just got
but
to do the right
arguably
move.
on his note, man, he's so choreographed. You kind of do have to be in shape because he be holding yoga poses and shit in his rhymes to make it look fire. And
Nah,
even
man,
doing the
you could do that
bro,
for 10 seconds. Believe you me. You could hold that for 10 seconds,
yo,
you know?
I'm saying it
I
was a
know what you
bad
mean. I know
place,
what you
and
mean.
I mean like while holding a mic though, fucking through 4 songs later, nah. I'm telling you, I know where I was. It
Mm.
wasn't good. I needed to train in a sense to be able to physically handle the stage better because if I am gonna go to New York and rap and they're gonna look at me like New Yorkers, I at least have to look cool doing it.
Yeah, but you don't want to look like them.
No, I don't want
Yeah?
to look like them. I want to look like
Oh.
me, being the best me I can be, which
And
requires a little, you know.
that's what will get you the love. I think that you see the thing. This is why I say a lot of Americans and so forth are paying attention now because England's gone to the point where we don't give a fuck.
Mm,
Yeah, we used to play hard to make it into that bubble. Then we
I like what you're
realized we
saying.
can make more money in Lanzarote, making a euro pound. We don't actually need America like that. Yeah, and then it
Ooh.
changed because now we're hitting up a dynamic where our sound is unapologetic. We have our own sound now. We don't need to sound like you no more. And now, you in order for you to get a euro pound, you're kind of trying to find ways to get into our scene now. You know, so you get a lot of outcries of people making that connection, which I love. I think it's beautiful. I think there should be way more connections because it's amazing. But
That's
it's
dope.
so unapologetic that they had to come and find the sound now. You know, Kanye lived there for years and made a whole new sound while he was here, while he was studying, because he's like, London's got bare sounds. It's insane when you're in the middle of the city. What you were party to is so mixed up. Every neighborhood is a mixed up neighborhood, and now it's just mashed into one.
So just the geography of London, which weirdly I've watched a lot of geography videos about London recently, just because
Mm-hmm.
I found a YouTuber. It goes like that. And all of it's just kind of forced everybody to keep mixing up over weird regulations and this, that, the next thing, that it's all like, from a musical sense, just everything new.
Well, we originated a lot of new styles. So
Right.
yeah, to a degree, it's a lot of it. That there's so much different angles you can hear music from over here, and I think that's the nice part as well. You know, if I want to tap into so much different type, don't get me wrong, that's worldwide. Music is like various anywhere you go, but we have a very big fusion pool here. That's the right
Mm.
way. We love
I, f-
fusion.
I fucks with that. I feel like my city loves EDM. That's what I'm realizing. I don't mean like the hip hop scene. I mean like the city really
Mhm.
likes EDM, and rappers that are EDM friendly seem to do very okay at festivals here.
London really loves indie. It's just the sound here, you know, that
Yeah.
good old acoustic guitar, that Oasis sound is big here. Don't get it twisted. That is still huge, but like anything, hip hop took over the world, and
Mm.
all its little cousins are doing the same thing. You know, that is how to see it. Every little, as they use it, urban sound is now what represents mainstream anything. You know, weirdly enough, it used to be that good old rock, man. You wanted to sell your washing machine, you had da 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 Bayo mode. Now that's gonna have a hip hop beat on the background and this woman making it rain with napkins. God damn, you know, little influences. We took over the world.
Bruh,
It happened.
it's big truth. It really
Like
is.
even in China they got end of the week hip hop. Yeah, end of the week China.
Do
Yeah,
they?
yeah, we got
I
end of the
didn't
week
know that.
China, right? And out there they had a like, let's say American Idol, but for hip hop. And it's the first time because hip hop's new out there. It's like a really new thing. This is only a few years back. We're going 2018, I think. Yeah. And the winner ended up sleeping with like the emperor's daughter, one of them kind of things, and making like a public fool of himself with it. And the country almost put a ban on hip hop, period, throughout the whole country. Yeah, just to show you like the language levels of when I'm speaking to the boys out there, C Jam and Sweet, they're like, man, hip hop's new. And you think we could talk about how you talk about it? We gotta do it covert because the country will shut down the whole thing. Not a little bit, the whole thing. There will be no hip hop raves, there will be nothing off the sort. Man, I can't even fathom that sitting here in England, that kind of
Yeah, no.
censorship.
I find that to be wild too. Like when I
Insane.
consider it, and then like how underground it has to be, and then you gotta imagine how good that slang is gonna be. Like how
Yeah.
much you're gonna have to be in the know to know. Like that's lit when I think about how good it's gonna be.
Well, look, it's catching something early, isn't it? They got the beauty of catching something early. When it's just started, you can make so much waves. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
Like if you bought Bitcoin in 2007, you're laughing now. You know, if you caught that shit early, you're laughing.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, I feel like that's what VR rappers are gonna be, and that's where a lot of shit's going. So we'd be totally looking into VR rapping. Like, I'm like, why would I not be there right now, learning all the ecosystem shit possible, so when everyone else wants to be there, we can profit off of that situation. Cause like, there's a lot to it. You need coding experience, you need designing people, and then you need to understand ecosystem designs, technological, whatever. And it's actually not hard-ish. I don't know how hard it is. My boy is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but we gonna figure it out because we gonna wanna like okay, like I mean, as much as it is, this is but like, yo, imagine doing like the Zoom. It's this is fine in a Zoom like this, but like when I think of like the ciphers and shit, there actually is something to being in a VR avatar circle that's better than Zoom and worse than real life. Like it's a step up. It's not a step
Hell
backwards because
with you.
I'm done that with because your hands move. I'm telling you, bro, there's something to the hands going with the mouth and shit, and you're like, it's just a little bit better than the fucking like the Zoom call with the fucking 17 faces. And then like people have proportions and shit. Like they're closer and farther away.
I know,
And then
but the problem, I'll tell you my problem with it. I just think people's going to get comfortable with it. And then we lose the love for the live.
but
Yeah.
the thing,
We,
yo,
they spend so much time keeping us away. You know?
well,
Like,
they're gonna. I don't know how it's gonna go down in the UK, but if you look at how much big shows cost now, it's gonna be
yeah.
festivals, and festivals are taking over. Bars are apparently not making money because nobody be drinking now that weed be legal. Like, it's like shit changing.
Well, that's different because it's not
Mm,
legal and it's a drink
that's
culture,
fair.
you know. So that the bars never slip over here,
And I'm not
you
saying
know.
that's across the board. I'm saying this is a trend that is taking place with young people who watched a lot of older people drink and make bad choices. Go, maybe we should drink less. This is not like I'm not making this up. You can go find stats that
Yeah,
across
I
America,
wish
this is
that
actually a thing.
was truth. Yeah, but the level of prescription drugs that are being digested has doubled. That was not a
Facts.
thing in that time. Yeah, you didn't do prescription drugs. You did hard
No,
drugs or no drugs. Yeah.
right.
Now, man
The
is
prescription
terrorizing
shit
their
is like
grandma's like drug cabinet. You know, I'm in the cabinet. What does this one do, grandma? I don't know, but I'll experiment. Da-da-da-da-da. And then that turns into the wave for the next 20 kids. You know, grandma's pills. So where it looks cleaner, it's kind of even more mixed up. Yeah,
that's
it's
fair.
more mixed up. It's way more pharmaceutical,
And I
which
do
makes
not
things way
even know
more
how,
sensitive.
which also just affects a lot of things because people are kind of like here's the thing. I've always smoked weed more than drank. So I know for a fact that live shows and marijuana, the best experiences I've had are when people could smoke inside. They don't go outside for 15 minutes to smoke a joint, and nobody goes outside to smoke a joint for less than 15 minutes. So when people go outside to do it, like your crowd be outside and then 20 people are outside, nobody, and I realize weed has this strange impact when your crowd smokes, but there's no venues for it in Montreal really, unless you're outside. So I
Uh-huh.
started like looking into these dynamics, and his bars got shittier because gentrification raised drink prices. That's the best way to put it. There used to be $20 pitchers. Now there's no $20 pitchers. It's a lot harder to sell tickets when it's like $9 a drink type thing. And all
Uh-huh.
of these little things pushed kids into Airbnbs and private parties and things that I'm never going to get invited to. And the whole live scene started evolving in this like new direction that intermingles with IRL and cool experiences. Because really, if it's good for the gram, right? It's probably worth getting that shot. And then like, oh man, the whole world is flipping upside on its head. But it's also like a weird world of niche market. So if you really want live, it'll be there. If you really want everything, it will always be there.
True. I just think we're losing it, man. The digital age scares me. And maybe I'm just that. Do you know what though? I'll be honest, yeah. I always believe because I was born in the 80s, we are the ultimate test products of
Mm,
technology.
that's
Yeah.
facts.
So like by this era, this is like the perfected side of technology, so to speak. Yeah. This was literally all the films we watched growing up in one. Right now, this is it. We're there. Demolition Man thought it was a joke, but it's real. Yeah. Wesley Snipes foresaw they all foresee this future. So now we're actually in it. It's like a thing to me. Damn. It's a thing to me where I'm like, okay, I understand what stage we're in. Yeah. Because there was no consoles before me that was
Mm.
made for me. You know? That the whole hold on.
I never even one time thought about it like the way you're describing it, but you
Well,
mad right.
just think of it in like simple logic, yeah? The console was not before me. My mum's era was outdoor kids. So when they did things, it was to be outdoor and it was to be in that kind of setting. You know, I speak to my mum and her upbringing is like following the rebels, but it was never technology or computer based. That was for me. You know,
Mm.
my era got the arcade. It started with the arcade. I spent a lot of money in arcades. Yeah, playing
these goddamn kids that learn how to do Street Fighter moves I can't do because they know how to press cheat buttons. This was me. Yeah. Then they made the console, which taught us how to stay indoors.
Facts.
That's different. Yeah. That's like the
Yo,
home studio to me.
bro, and then they made it online play. So even when we grew up with the Halos and the Xboxes connecting to each other, all that shit's deaded now. It's just like, like we used to have like social experiences with video games IRL,
Exactly.
and
Listen,
now you
no
just
one's
sit there
gonna
and
tell me about
leave the couch.
GoldenEye on the N64, yeah, where you got to put in 4 pads. This is like real social experiences because you lived that. We was in it. We all played it side to side, shoulder to shoulder. The minute we went online, that was it.
Yeah.
That
I
was
never
it.
got
And now
into
you
online
can't even
gaming.
get games that you play together. You know, it's like, yo, yeah, let's play this game. All right, you go home. Yeah.
No, I
Live.
gotta give the Nintendo Switch its credit. The Nintendo Switch gave me a moment a couple years back where I went to my mom's crib and we had the 4 little controller things and we brought the Mario Party, bro. And all of
Yeah,
a
man.
sudden, and I fucking swear, you're like, that's how the game works. So now you're sitting
Yeah,
there
man.
going like that next to your mom with the fucking Switch thing. And bro, it was great. And I have to give Nintendo their props. I think they saw that there was actually a need for it and they put efforts into social video gaming. But nah, man, everybody be trying to make it like fucking let's go to work in a virtual world. You know,
And
people be
that's the
literally,
scary part. That is literally the scary part because that's where we're losing our reality as we know it.
yo, work
You
from
know?
home was a big wake up call for me because, like, I'm super pro future tech shit. Like, I feel like I'm just gonna ride the wave because it's coming rather than fear it. And
Uh-huh.
then I did work from home, and it took about a year and a half for me to realize that I like coffee breaks where I can just sit there and like shoot the shit about stupid nothings because I hung out with rappers predominantly for the last 2 years and not regular people. And there's no balance anymore. It's just artists, and artists are divas. I'm gonna put it out there. We're all divas. And so my whole life is a bunch of fucking divas with no grounding anymore. There's no like because none of us are famous enough to have corporates around us. So it's just all of us being
Agreed.
all of us. And I'm like, man, I miss listening to people complain about home repairs. That's some shit I haven't heard in a long time.
The simple things, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Like
But
somebody who gets excited because they dropped a new song, not, oh yeah, now check out my track, which is fair because we're all doing it.
like I said, that's because no more, we can't do the build up no more. We lost that build up. Yeah, before you could do that, you can make people wait that 3 months. I actually remember buying Biggie Born to Die on CD, waiting in the queue for over expensive import price. You know, I remember those days. It felt good. I remember buying the vinyl, like when I bought LL Cool J, yeah, because I need love. Dun, dun, dun. I wanted that, yeah. And I bought that album. Yeah, at cheesy times, isn't it? Yeah, but I bought that album specifically. I queued up for it, paid an over expensive import price. Yeah, but that's what we did. Now there's no build up. Now it's just hit the music.
Well, now it's not even just that. It's like, now it's like what grabs my attention, which is a weird situation because like the algorithm be slowly taking over. I just read a book that fucked me up on that concept. It was the guy who wrote Homo Deus, his like next book, Sapiens. The guy who wrote Sapiens, that was like big for a minute. His follow-up book. He starts talking about how we're giving up our humanity to algorithms and shit, and you see it with Google Maps. Google Maps is the perfect example. Just look how we used to treat directions. Nah, we all chose the fuck it. Google Maps is better. Like the whole world just kind of decided to let an algorithm win. And think about the algorithm we gave all of the. They've been, like it's over. Like we can't even go back now. It's too fucking late. But the fact is, we all did it because MapQuest was so bad. It was really bad. and we all got bad directions. When Google Maps came, it was so good. And
Yeah, but there is
there's a lot
something
of
else
things
that
like
can
that
do it.
shit. Think about Fitbits or Fitbits be ruling my life a bit. If the Fitbit like it tells me shit and it helps me get healthier. But without the Fitbit, I promise you, I'm not as accountable. I need that fucking shit telling me that I need to be healthy, and now I'm healthier.
Now, imagine that. Isn't that nuts? That you need a crutch to tell you. But the
Yeah,
fact
facts.
is, you should be able to tell yourself that. Yeah. But it's tailored in a way now that there's something to do everything for you, even making music. Yeah. I
Facts.
remember the amount cutting and stuff I used to do to find samples and breaks. And then I bought the machine and my life changed. I'm like, wow, this box has everything in it. Yeah. This one box, as long as I download a patch, I have Abbey Road Studio. Yeah. For what? Yeah. This used to be someone's craft. Now it's just given to you so easy, you know?
But I guess that's where it's the blessing and curse of it all. Because here's the thing. I'm not a fan of the world I couldn't compete in, and I couldn't compete in the last world, and I can only compete in this current version of it. Like there was no way I was competing in music with the way my life was going and and I don't mean it to be like it's impossible, but back in the day, you needed real hookups or some shit to make it happen. In this era, I start my like little hustles and shit in 2012. Being from now, like it's the most you can actually do it from pretty much any socioeconomic class possible era ever. Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter where you're from,
I love
and
now. I think
I
now is
kind of
great.
like that more. But I'm not. It's not lost on me because I've talked to guys like Nunzio who described working in real studios back in the day, or I've talked to all these different people who have contextualized just like back when you made the Beastie Boys album there, the second one with the crazy amount of samples, they would have had to like project manage that shit, like with like charts and shit to make sure that when they're slicing every fucking sound together, it was perfect because otherwise it would have not been perfect. That's
Mhm.
not what we do now. We don't have to plan as much. We can experiment just more willy nilly. And it's a blessing and a curse. Like I found out that you can just set the BPM in a DAW, and then you don't have to align stuff as much effort because I didn't know that, and I spent so much time making my life harder for the last year and a half. But I know the Pocket better now because I had to learn the Pocket because I didn't know how to make my life easier. So I'm
Mhm.
sliding and shit. So it's like I got a little taste of what making your life harder does to your creative process, and how easiness is not
Yeah, man.
always the best.
But like, all right, even like for me, all the albums I brought out, apart from the last one, Watership Down, I've created. So I made the beat, because I always wanted to make sure it was a journey. You
Mm,
know, that's my thing. If I'm going to present something, I want to try and be able to present a journey. Apart from the last album, which is a journey, but I met a producer called Daniel Champion, and this guy, I was bored. I went online bored, and I said, "Yo, someone send me some beats," and he sent me like 4 beats. I think I wrote for 3 that night and then sent it back to him 2 days later. So he sent me like 4 more. And then I ended up with about 15, 16 beats from this guy. And within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I've written Watership Down.
mm.
And the concept of that album is like the actual story of it is it's a play that we used to have to learn in school. And this it's a book about rabbits trying to find greener pasture, but having to fight political and social injustice in the story. And we would have to comment about this in school. It was banned because it was just loads of rabbits getting killed like graphically and bloodily all over the place. It's one of these kind of weird stories that we had to learn, but at the same time, it made such an influential statement on me at the time. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna rewrite this, but in a different way. I'm gonna
Mm.
put a 2018 spin on it, and in doing it, it opened up a different chapter of writing for me because
now I'm not trying to be so barsy and lyrical. I'm trying to be more just like the MC I always kind of like to listen to. You know, I like to listen to the Commons. I like to listen to Skinny Man. Kalashnikov was so dope. Like, if I tell you some of the UK heads we grew up on, I used to love that energy. So this last album was just a flex to me because I just wanted to flex. I didn't want to have to be barsy. I didn't want that. I just wanted to make good music and finish it on that tone. You know, this album's gonna be just an album about good music. I put 2 bar tunes on it, Duppy that and another one, but that's because we all like to have fun. But primarily, the album is literally just me making music I actually always wanted to make on Watership Down, and that one was like a very fulfilling album for me. But everything has its journey. Every album I did, every album I did has its journey. And it's brought me to a place now where I appreciate making music for more wholesomeness than anything.
I feel that. I really do. Like,
You know,
it's like,
I don't try to make to a formula. I hate that. I've never done it. Like, honest to God, if you hear, I've been making beats since '96. So like the variety of music I have is insane. Insane. Like, I go from all types of spectrums because I never wanted to be a niche producer, even though I think it's great. If someone can come to you for a tailored sound, it makes it easier for them to like come to you for something, you know? But I'm someone that will give you something so out of the box that you have to really think, wow, how do I work this one? Because I want you to do that. For me, that I get more out of that. They're giving you something you conventionally sit on. I want to give you something that you would never thought you'd hear yourself on. But how you came on it was great. And maybe because I'm from Britain, it gives me a different license, you know, because you don't expect the norm. You don't expect me to give you the formula music. Like, even sometimes when I used to do the EO Beats challenge, they're like, yo, I thought I was going to go more grime. And I'm like, well, I'm not a grime dude. If you actually hear it, like, you know, like I rap with them grime MCs and I don't feel the same because the pocket is different. That pocket is so different. Like, the energy, how you work it, the 4 bars, the mantras, it's different. So I know my pocket, I know my lane, and I like to sit in that pocket and just do it well. But because I come from a jungle tradition, I know how to be a jungle MC. Because I come from ragga, I know how to spin on my ragga face. Because I come from hip hop, it gave me so much dynamics to work with. Because I was a Rascas fan as big as I was a Outcast family. You know, I love Dungeon. You get me? The whole Dungeon Squad, that shit used to get me at one stage. That Excalibur tune blew my mind. I was like, wow, I can make music like this. This is next level. You know, the licenses that you get to make. And then obviously with my upbringing being all African Caribbean drumming and dancing, that triggers me into different time patterns. You know, like, we speak generally on 4/4 basis, 3/4 if we want to swing it. But they're working on 6/9s and 7/8s and things like this where you're like, okay.
just to interject, that's time signatures in music, which is like because not everybody's gonna know what you just said.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But those
Which
time signatures,
you can
when you're
Google a
dealing
time
with that,
signature.
you're doing 6/9 at about a 140. But playing live, you know, when this guy's hitting the bell and going din 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 din, and he's got to hold that. for 5 minutes. Steady, arm, lock. That's like, to me, next level training. And it
I
gives
mean,
you,
cause like I always wondered about that, cause like I don't think people know how much of American music is in C major, or E, I think one of those two, and
Mhm,
4/4/4. Like almost all of it is just in that. Like there's not a lot of
exactly.
real variety in American music, as much as we might think there is. Like it's
But
really
that's
like.
because of the scale system. So when you go in Africa, you go more pentatonic and the off signatures. It's like Japanese, they work on a different scale system.
Mm,
So, which I believe then taps into different frequencies because music is all frequency. Yeah. So if you never have a taste of the other side, you can lose your mind to that. You know, I watch
mm,
people dance and lose their mind. And because, all right, I'm raised spiritual because of it. It's raised me very spiritual because I've seen, like, for instance, there might be a dance and the man's going to wear a mask, something simple like that, a mask. If he doesn't do the right prayer before he does that dance, good luck. Yeah, because he can get taken over. This guy can spin himself off stage, spirits take over, and I've seen it happen. I've watched it happen countless of times where I'm like, that's amazing. I didn't even know it was possible, but this guy just caught a spirit, and because he didn't do this prayer or this ceremony before he did that dance, that's it. He's in another whole place. Or that female, she might just start vomiting in the mask because she didn't do the right thing before it. So spiritually, it raised me knowing that music has spiritual effect, if you know what I mean. It's not just like a
uh,
feel good feeling or a time signature. It has a spiritual effect.
I mean, I believe that. I know that the music I listen to is affects my mood or reflects my mood or both. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
goes from reflecting to usually it goes from reflecting to affecting. Starts off like you're in a sad mood, so you put on a sad song, then you listen to a lot of sad stuff, and now the sad stuff influences your whole attitude. So then I'll make
Mm-hmm.
sad music, and like I don't know, I can't say I'm that
Now, all
worldly
right.
with my music to go that
So
deep on it
imagine
and
you're
that
talking
front,
about.
but I know it from an emotional point of view, I guess.
All right. Imagine you're talking about a mood and a reflection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine I'm talking it as a language.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is no more. This is no longer a mood or reflection. It's now an actual language. I want you to tap into something. So this, for instance, you had a dance called Tokwe, and Tokwe, I believe, dealt with fertility. So this is like a woman's coming of rights and so forth, like this. So in this, through the dance, it's telling the whole language, a whole story. It's
Right.
telling you a whole rite of passage. So it's no longer just an emotion, it's a language. Yeah. And that's when music to me is different because
Okay.
most people take it as a feeling and emotion, where I've actually seen it used as a language. It's something that invokes way more than that. You know,
Okay.
it,
I mean, what you're saying makes sense to me, right? Because like as much as I mean, I describe it like that and the influence. I do believe that there's more to it than just the mood of it. Like, I believe music is a vessel of communication, and so I guess a language. Like, to
Mhm,
me, it expresses something, whether it's vapid or meaningful. Even vapid is still expression. It's just
mhm.
what it is and how it speaks. But, like, yeah, no, I mean, I hear different beats and they feel different. And I feel like, I've always like thought like some sounds have like a color associated with them in my head, whether it's a real thing or not. Like it's just a feeling. But I use the word feeling because it's what I know to describe it. But I get what you're saying because like language to me is really linked to feeling, so that's why I use that word. So when I think about it, like this emotional language, like to me they're really linked.
Yeah, but I actually mean a language. So, for instance, they said slavery times, yeah? The way you knew how to get to the mountain is when they beat the drum, it was a language. It was telling you, run to the mountain, turn here. It's almost like Morse code, if you was to
Okay.
imagine. So it speaks, yeah? They got a thing called a talking drum. And when the talking drum plays, it speaks. It can talk to the whole community. So there's a feeling in music which everyone's gonna get, because music is always gonna give you a feeling. But then this is music being used as a language, is how I was raised, which is very different. You know, it's not the average person's experience. You know, but for instance, if you was maybe Turkish, yeah, and the music's playing, the master drummer is gonna play the dalbuka, yeah, and that dalbuka is gonna play a language that people can actually understand if you're of that musician lineage, you know? And because music of the African diaspora came from griots and stories and things like this, it is a language that's passed down. So that dance of fertility is a language. It's more than just a music and a feeling, if you know what I mean. It's customary. It's a it's like, I can't even explain it. Yeah, I think I've explained it.
No, I mean
It's
I think you're doing a great job of contextualizing it different than just what I'm describing. Because I get what you're saying. Like it's not the same thing. And when you put it like that, it reminds me of Jewish stuff. Because
mm-hmm.
like all the music in Jewish hymns and prayers they're not just songs. They all have like a purpose, a
Exactly.
ritualistic something, or the way the cantor will do prayers to communicate shit. I don't understand any of it, bro. I just watched the dude kind of do his thing. But like I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot more to it, and like there's a lot of training that goes into doing that in a way to talk to people, and everybody there who does know that shit knows that shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can feel that from like I guess the times I've been in synagogue. I can see what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. It's a language. You will get that, especially in things like that, in religious settings. Yes, because those mantras and so forth are there for a reason. You know,
Right.
they're invoking whatever Holy Spirit you're calling for. So to be raised in this, you know, like, I don't know, they might say, I'll be a man or bush doctor. But to me, I know a lot of good people like that, you know, real good people that do use what people will call dark arts to do good things. They heal like nothing, you know, hand over the stomach and tell your mum about 3 kidney stones she had in a thing that was giving her back pain for time that the doctor's not been able to see in the last 6 months, and heal her with ointments and remedies. You know, things like this. I'm very much raised in that fashion.
Okay.
Very spiritual minded, very from that perspective, which then is probably why I resonated more with the conscious minded hip hop to a degree, because sometimes conscious to me is moaning, you know, it's like people pointing fingers. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. Some people make it sound like that you could get conscious, but then there's just rapping without solution, and that's just pointing fingers, yes, moaning. And then you get people that actually have consciousness can just be feel good, you know. That's also a different dynamic. It doesn't mean it's got to take your brain on some deep depth, and no, you just got to feel good and invoke a good message. Yeah, that is more conscious than half of the moaning that goes on, to me.
I completely agree with you. I mean, like I how you call it, like indie rappers rapping for rappers.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
know.
best way I put it. It's just like, no, you're just rapping for rappers and the people that like listening to rappers who, because like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy and weird things when you do album reviews and you start really listening to all 17 tracks on the album next to each other.
Uh huh.
Yo, your whole
Yeah, of
perspective
course.
changes. on
Of
what
course,
people are
you
actually
know,
saying. So
like
I get you,
it's
man.
crazy. So like for me, like to be conscious, my next conscious album would just be a feel good album. It would be something that I could play in pretty much any circumstance and just enjoy. That
I feel like on top of that, like I don't know, maybe I'm just happier in life, but that has reflected in the music I listen to. And I
Mhm.
feel like dance is way more important to me. And if there's not a danceability to the mood, I'm not as interested in even my older music. I don't really want to listen to it. I'm not in the headspace for my older shit right now. Maybe one day, but like now, I'm on some new shit, and like it either
Uh-huh.
got to dance or I'm just rapping to rap to put it on Spotify and shit, and I'm never gonna perform it. Like I don't want to perform that.
See, that's it. But again, anything I do, I would love to perform. I
Mm.
tell you, the only problem with that is I don't remember half of my bars. That's why I'm an amazing freestyler. Yeah. when it, if I got to remember a stage show, I'm gonna kill the stage show. If we go to a cipher and you tell me to rap writtens, forget about it. That's just like a no for me
I'm with
because it
that.
doesn't come to my brain. But if you tell me to freestyle, I generally freestyle as good as most people pen. So I feel
I mean,
comfortable
I've
like that.
watched you freestyle, and I do believe you freestyle as good as most people's pen. I will say that's facts.
Thank you, thank you. That's training though, man. As years of training, I've been in the dojo with it. Yeah, and it half of my thing was, how do you freestyle one without saying the same words? Yeah, this is like little tricks that I trained myself for years. Yeah, freestyle without saying the same words. Yeah, because people have like, and without telling people. So like, I used to stray so hard from saying off of the dome or anything like that. Yeah,
Mm.
because that way it's like you're giving people a license to say it's okay if I fuck up. Yeah, it's off of the dome. You get me? Oh yeah. No, I
Bro,
want
I
it to sound so
absolutely
soft.
say that shit. If I think what I'm rapping is trash, the second I know I'm trash, but I have to keep rapping, I'm gonna drop
See,
this off the dome.
it's
It's the
off the
first
dome.
move.
It's the license. So
It's
that's
trash.
my dojo. My personal dojo was I don't do that. No off of the dome. Yeah, I'm going to find words that make sure I never go to off of the dome. That was
Mm.
first, and then I trained on the next level of right. Pick topics, Yusef. Yeah, and rap freestyle about a topic for at least a minute. Yeah, just
Mm.
stay because that's the next freestylers thing. Freestylers would just rap whatever comes to their head, isn't it? And my cap is red and my t-shirt's black, and they know about me because it's a matter of fact, whatever rhymes. Yeah, but then if you went to the cap is red and t-shirt's black, and then tried to tie it all up, you get me? The cap is red, the t-shirt's black. In French, they say noir, and that's a fact. And you can see by the red, I could be repping Bumpton, and now I'm connecting red and black in so many ways that you're thinking, okay, is this written? Because somehow he's managed to just stay on these two topics, but make 20 different sentiments about it, you know?
Right.
And that's my personal trainings to me. That is how I train that freestyle side of me. So I don't worry about when I go to the radio ciphers and these things. I just generally let go.
That's fair, man. I did how-to tutorial videos, and I didn't want to script them because I found out it was faster if I made it up on the spot. So I had to.
Improv wins every time, man.
I mean, okay, no, that's not true. If your shit's 30 minutes and it's a real webinar, script that motherfucker to the don't even trust yourself. If it's professional and you gotta like not swear and it's gotta be super clean, like there's a
Mhm.
time and but if that shit's 3 minutes, 5 minutes, nah, it's not even worth scripting it. I can make the shit up as I go and it'll be alright.
Yeah, trust.
And especially if you're recording it and you can hit delete. I just like it would take me just as much time to write it and practice it as it would, and I could do like a 3 minute video in an hour all in. So like, well, it just take that long to write the shit. So like, why?
Yeah, straight.
And then I realized when it came to topics later on, that shit really helped because basically I was freestyling tutorial videos. It's not rapping, but you're still doing the words part. And then I was able to just talk about shit while rapping because you can just talk about shit if you know what you're going to talk about on that subject. And then it's just making it rhyme, which, I mean, you should be able to make it rhyme, I suppose.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to keep going. It's like 10:22 by me. I know it's like even way later by you, but like I do have to go to work tomorrow. So like
the reality of life, yeah, man.
yeah,
Same
and I
here.
really appreciate this. I didn't even think it was gonna go this late, but it was really dope. So I didn't even want to like end it, but like it did get to a
Yeah, man.
point where I'm like I'm hungry.
Listen, gonna have one of those good night beddy ones for me before the work life kicks in tomorrow. You know,
That's
but
what
like
it
the
is.
early
But
shifts. But
I really appreciate you doing this in light of that, because in case y'all don't even know, this guy's in the UK, so it's 2 something in the morning, middle of the night shit. And that's some real trooper. And it's really cool that you came through and did this with us, because, yeah, it's super interesting to hear from you. And anybody from the UK, it's like a blessing, because, again, it's just such a different perspective, such a different life. And honestly, you don't get a lot of I was there perspectives. You get a lot of pop YouTube perspectives.
of course,
So arguably this can turn into a YouTube perspective for someone else, but that's not for me at least. It's more like personal. Um, but like all that to say, I appreciate you coming in and doing this. I appreciate everyone that came through to like watch it too. Do you have do you have any like upcoming anythings that you want to plug or promote before we like end it?
well, obviously there's the new gods that I sent you the other day. This is
Yeah.
like my collective. You know, we do a lot of. Started off as a little crew 5 years ago that spoke over WhatsApp on some like-minded vibes. And then we started realizing, let's just start putting on shows. We don't need promoters. We don't need nothing. We can do all of this. So we started putting on people that we like, people that maybe never got their shot in the scene or needed it. And yeah, it went into a nice vibe from that New Guard situation. So when I watched the New Guards, we ended up deciding to build the album and making it into a full thing. So recently we released the album, the documentary, which is called Tribe. The album's called Tribe. The documentary is Tribe, Formation of a Brotherhood. That's just come out. So that's got me super gassed at the moment. I'm bringing back End of the Week this year. EO Dub England is alive again this year. Brand new logo. That's our new logo now. So this is what we're doing over here. Got it panned out in a way where hopefully a 6 cities tour with a Grand London UK final shot as a series and then pitched at the end. This is kind of the whole prospect. So that's kind of really what I'm looking forward to doing this year. Album wise, I'm 40 this year, so I'm gonna put out the big 40/40 album. You get me? I think I'm gonna call it Wine as well. Just getting better over time, kind of thing. The berries are sweetening, so I'm looking forward to that too. That should be coming out. And yeah, the rest of the year's got so many little things. Snapshot, which is like an art project that I'm involved with. And we showcase different artists over here, visual arts, so drawings and clay animations and everything. That's coming next month. So yeah, it's quite a lot of plans coming out. But music wise, go get that Tribe album, and I'll have that 40/40 coming up real soon.
That's dope, Stills. But yo, Big Ox, what is your question?
Yo, Mas, where someone?
Where's my lad?
Everything blessed singing up. Good to see you. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I didn't have a real question. I just had to. We about to put Vice album out. Can I get, and then we'll get a little promo. Can I get like a video drop for me, like a little quick short one? You know what I mean?
What for Vice?
Yeah.
All day, bro.
Just like bigging them up. You know what I mean? Saying like the Crown album coming. You know what I mean?
Listen,
type
I'll do that one time. Yeah, yeah, man.
Yes.
If they
please.
never know, get to know. This is me, Masla talking. fully missing my brother Vice. Yeah.
Well, wait, Mas. I'm saying, can you shoot it for me? Send it to me.
Send them what? Soon as we done, I'm gonna send that over.
So I'm gonna send the my email in your what's it? I think you might have it though, but I don't know. I mean, or maybe like a Google Drive or I don't know, Dropbox.
Just WhatsApp and I'll send that to you, brother.
Yeah, WhatsApp, easiest way.
Yeah.
Give me the number one time.
We're doing that one time and we'll make sure it's all familyed up.
What's the number?
Hold on, I'm not gonna give the number. We're still live.
We're still live.
My fault.
On the live. I have bare random people calling me up. Hi.
All right.
I heard your thing the other day. I thought you was rather sweet.
So on that note, appreciate everyone here. Shout out Big Ox, y'all. He's a vibe. That's all I can say about Big Ox. Big vibe. But I appreciate you coming through, man. You got a lot going on, and you're a super interesting dude. And this is a super great episode. So with that, like, I also just wanted to give love to the people who came through with us, who stuck it through for the hours, the people who waited as we discovered there were time zone differences between our two countries because the shit changed over the weekend.
On this 5 hours thing, and then they got the surprise like that was 8 over here. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was also feeling that way, and we all learned together. It's the beauty of the information era.
Yeah, what happened. Then people start playing with our calendar, and then there you go, man. Calendar and time is gone.
So with that though, shout out all of you who stuck it through, and those of you who watch this in the future, appreciate y'all. Links in description and all that good stuff. But also big thanks to End of the Week, right? Because that we wouldn't be here without End of the Week. This is the End of the Week network. We all on here. I'm in Maslows with the UK. I'm over in Quebec. There's a whole chapter here. This is some New York. It's a good moment, you know what I mean? It's cool to see how much countries can be involved in the End of the Week fucking movement as it is and as it's growing. And I think that's a blessing. So shout out to End of the Week for creating that kind of ecosystem for the world and shit. So y'all go follow them at EODUBEODub.com. That's your best choice.
EODub.com.
It's your best. It's the easiest place because it's just easier that way. And then you can find all their stuff there. Shout out everybody for that. Honestly, it's been a really wonderful conversation again. Appreciate everybody out there who did stick it through with us. And yeah, I guess that's all I gotta really say. So, live long and prosper,
big love,
yo.
honor, respect, yo.
Appreciate that. Oof. I am offline.
Hi, we are good.
We are good. Look at that. That cool. Sending out live one straight away, you know.
Bro, now I just want to know what Maslow beats sound like. I'm like, man.
Oh man.
I'm like, I want a beat that I would not know what I would sound like on. That's what I want. Cause I get so bored with beat makers because everybody in Montreal is trying to bite New York. It's really corny, so it's like the same fucking Griselda sample shit over and over and over and over again. All of my friends who could be making